What's up everyone, and welcome back to Weapon Select. We've got most of the weapon classes out of the way. I think there's still a couple that are lingering to be made videos of, but we also just got a huge batch of new releases of weapons. And while, I've shared my thoughts on those weapons at some length, and I think that my tier list of like which ones ended up being viable still holds up really remarkably well. I still haven't shown any gameplay with these for the most part. I've played a little bit of it on stream, especially the N-Zap, but gotta go make a weapon select out of all the weapons, right? Not just some of the weapons. So I'm gonna either go through all of the weapons at once in this one video, or Gem from the future is going to show up right now and tell you why that was a bad idea ultimately. It was a bad idea. This video would be 2 hours and 15 minutes long. We're gonna get started with the one that's probably my weakest, which is gonna be the Z+F Charger. My weakest, however, definitely not the weakest out of the patch here. We've talked, at some length about chargers in the previous video. Chargers are going to take strong backline positions where they're able to see large amounts of the map on open sight lines, but where they're going to be safer from the enemy team. They don't want to get flanked. They want to see everything that's coming at them and be able to respond very far in advance so that they can stay at their max range and take the shots that they need to keep themselves out of the enemy team's line of fire entirely. Because while they have what seems like a fast time to kill, because they one-shot as soon as they release that trigger, and it's not quite hit scan, but it feels like it sometimes. On the other hand, that charge takes a pretty long time, so they're going to need to be in a place that's safe until they have that charge before they want to unload it. Now, this particular charger has a little bit of help with that because it can create its own cover. It doesn't need to rely on the map around it to be able to keep it safe from incoming shots, from things that might have reached it, or things like E-leaders that outrange it. It can just take those shots from wherever the wall is up for at least a short amount of time. It's also going to get a very, very solid special in the Tri-Strike. This is a great anti-meta special. It's something that poses a significant threat to a crab tank. It's something that poses a significant threat at least to a Kraken staying on the tower, or being near things you don't want it to be near. So, very solid kit here, something that we knew was immediately going to be useful to all backline players. And that does seem to be the way that it's been. Lots and lots of backline players have switched on to this charger, or included this charger in their lineups of weapons, and so we're going to see, why that's going to be today. Except for not, because I'm bad at this class of weapons. Okay, cool. They gave us a double backline comp. That's not what I was looking for. Why do they do this? Why do they give some teams double backline comps and other teams no backline? I don't understand. Must have just been a compromise for better ping or matchmaking or something. That's Kraken, so we're gonna just dip out of here. Notice how I'm able to use this from some pretty weird aggressive angles, some angles you wouldn't maybe expect a charger to be played from. Part of that is it's, the Splat Charger, so it's a little bit more mobile. But another part of that is the Splash Wall. Splash Wall is going to let me stand in some places and let that wall take some shots while I run away. I probably could have been in position to camp that jump if I'd been thinking about it in time. Looks like they're out of here. I just wanted to paint that so that I could get up there in future when I need to play defense. Because I don't like having to play from such low ground positions all the time. I'd rather be able to see over the top of stuff. Oh, almost got it. Thought they were going to dodge roll. And I keep anticipating they're going to move, and then they just stand still. Just getting approached by someone. They're going to run away. Both the teammates can cover. There's a couple players in here that I know are there, so I want to try and flush them out a little bit into my team. Oh, they jumped over it, I think. And it's tempting to just jump across right now. I think I could just jump across. Let's do that. Pop that. Still relatively safe. Okay, now we can get in there. Yeah. Unfortunate that everyone else went down in the meantime, but we were able to get a score on the board. It's not enough for us to be able to take lead or anything like that, but it's going to make it slightly easier. And it's been a low-scoring game so far. Hopefully, we're going to be able to follow up on that in the future. Hello. How do I keep getting pushed from that angle and ending up in a situation where I can't get to this area. I prefer to be up here for defending. Or maybe up in the top right. That would also be good. But I also want to be a little bit closer than that most of the time. That's more of an A-leader position because of the range. Oh, shoot. That was supposed to go at the end of the... right there. We gotta get out of here. There's a roller on us. They do have a disconnect, which might make this a little bit easier, but we are still behind. So we gotta actually get in there and score. Let's launch this out and see if our teammate can do something with that. Okay, interesting they didn't go for me. Oh no, that was too low. I'm also trying to play a little bit on the aggressive side just because being on a double backline comp, we don't have a lot of forward pressure. And since I also, you know, my usual role is providing forward pressure, we needed to splat that when they finished. That we can't just let them throw it after it's done. We have a power clam. Let's go, guys. Get in there. And don't die to the Kraken, please. We died to the Kraken. Alright. Well, we just lost a 4v3. Well, we had a disconnect, too. Wacky game. Wacky game. I'll take that one. I mean, I went positive anyway. Yeah. I'm definitely not a Charger player, as I've said before, but I think that's not a bad showing for myself. Alright, let's move on to one of the more interesting weapons in competitive play right now, the 96 Gal Deco. 96 Deco is a Kraken weapon, which automatically makes it interesting for consideration. It's generally believed right now that Kraken is one of the strongest specials in the game, that Crab is still the strongest, but Kraken is right up there with it. One of the nice things about Kraken is that not only, you know, does it work pretty well against Crab, it also works pretty well with it. You can use Kraken to go into places where people are huddling behind cover while the Crab tank is firing, so that you can either flush them out of cover for the Crab tank to shoot at, or be able to just get free picks, because where else are they going to go at that point? They're already pinned down. So it works really well in combination with Splash, And right now the 96 is the weapon that is being used with the crab most often. Kraken Roller, it has the problem of a roller that can't poke with anything, which is, if it doesn't get in, it doesn't ever do any damage. And so getting in becomes a really big issue against top level teams that are going to paint defensively for themselves, or even, you know, mid-level teams that are going to be painting defensively for themselves. It's very hard to make that kind of playstyle work in that sort of environment. There are very few people who are willing to do it. Most of the time, they're going to do it with the Carbon Deco, because the Carbon Deco moves faster, has a burst bomb that it can poke with, and a Trizuka that it can try to get picks from at a distance without having to hard commit to just being in there. The Kraken Roller does have beacons, and we'll talk about it a little bit more and how it can be used when we get to it. But at a top level, the awareness and the defensive painting that's going to happen is typically going to catch that out a lot more often than the Gal wall combo. Anytime you put a Gal with a wall, it's just a really good combination. It's always been a good thing. There was a 96 in Splatoon 1 that had this combination, and it saw use at top level play. There was the Kensa 52 Gal of Splatoon 2, which was the strongest weapon in the game for a good amount of time at the end of that game's lifespan. And the 96 Deco in Splatoon 2 only didn't see as much use because it had Splashdown, which was the weakest special in the game at the time, and also not especially well suited to a weapon that wants you to keep away from it at the distance that the 96 Gal does. So that was a little bit of a mismatch, but this 96 Deco is kitted excellently. The wall is a great advantage for it to have, because this is a very immobile weapon. It can't move very fast at all while it's firing. Look at how sluggish this is. This is max speed while you're firing the weapon. And it's also not the fastest firing weapon, so its mobility is definitely a little bit weaker than something that you'd find in another shooter. And to compensate for that, you can just kind of stand out in the open wherever you want and use your range to its fullest because you're protected by the wall for at least a short amount of time. Another advantage that this gives you is that if you need to escape from someone who's flanking you, you can put the wall between you and them and be backing up in just the same way that the Z+F Charger wants to do it. And if all of that fails, you have an invincibility special. Now this special, you tend to see getting used aggressively more often. It's very similar to how the Kensa 52 Gal worked, where you could use it to survive if you got into an emergency situation, but that it was better to use it proactively to create plays. Like I said, you know, the Kraken is best used very aggressively, trying to be as close to the enemy team as possible on use. Obviously not so close that you're getting punished for going into it, but you want to get in there into a sneaky kind of flank route, because part of your goal also is to be safe by the time you transform back. That's your biggest window of vulnerability, is when you transform back. And so if you can't get a pick on the player you're chasing after, then you want to find yourself a place where you're going to be able to get away after it's done. So in order to make up for the time that you're cost by trying to get out after a Kraken, you want to already be in there when you initiate the Kraken to make sure that you're going to be safe on the out, like as you leave, but also get value from being able to use it. So that does create a little bit of a complicated playstyle for this, because it kind of would prefer most of the time to be keeping the opponents somewhat at bay, but it's going to have to transition into sharking a little bit, maybe getting a little bit closer when it pops its special, just to make sure that it's able to get that in range and get value from it. But even if you have to just run it straight up the middle in full view of the enemy team, there are a lot of maps in Splatoon 3 that are just all choke points, and so you're going to be able to get through there, and so it doesn't have as negative an impact. But I think that we will see slightly more aggressive weapons be a little bit more impactful on this special if we ever get any that farm it quickly. You know, if we ever put this on a shooter, that aggressive shooter is probably going to be the preferred Kraken delivery system over this once that were to come out. For now, though, it absolutely has a place on just about any team comp, because just about any team comp is running double splash. This fits really well with double splash. And it also combos really well with Stamper, which is one of the other most common weapons being used right now, because one shot of this combos with pretty much any kind of damage that the Stamper wants to do, except for indirect burst bomb damage. And direct burst bomb damage is also something that Splash-o-matics are going for. So, lots of chip damage potential, you know. Even if you don't manage to get the splat because you have a slow fire rate and the accuracy is kind of trash, you can still just get that one shot, and maybe a teammate will be able to follow up on it in a coordinated setting, especially. You just call out, they're weak, maybe you get a burst bomb chucked in that direction and you get lucky. So, very solid weapon right now, and something that top-level players are experimenting with right now. Both Chara and Kyo, who are Stamper players, are also considering 96 to replace their Stamper sometimes. And I've seen it being run not quite at top level, but at a competitive level alongside the Stamper as well. We got oh my god, we've got 3 Krakens. That's just kind of going to happen early on in the game. You're going to get everyone who wants to try out the new weapons, and so it's going to be nothing but the new weapons for a little while. This rail, we know that there's nobody there, which is why we're comfortable being here. We're going to throw this here because there's a Hydra around. I think I stepped in front of him a while. That's an issue that I've been having with the 52, that I get too far in front of it. You should never have to go in that far, especially with the extra range that you've got with the 96. Like, at 52, you know, maybe sometimes there are actually some situations where you won't have the range, but if you're getting that close to something dangerous and you don't have the range to deal with it with the 96, then you're probably mispositioning. Not aiming super well, but we eventually did get them. Pre-fire that. See if we can get over the top and put this up and wall them out. Okay, we got our Kraken. The other... Oh, whoops. I mistook where those lines were showing. I was about to try and go in with our teammate after I was able to get around the Tri-Strikes, but now we're going to have to charge it up again. Double Kraken is a pretty good combination. You know, if one is chasing someone, they have pretty limited options. If a second one is chasing them, they probably do not have options. There is the lack of maneuverability of the weapon, though. I would paint my feet much more quickly with another kind of short-range shooter that I'm used to, and I was expecting to be able to have that kind of paint there. Did not. This should keep us safe from the Hydra for long enough. It should, but I missed shots. One coming up on the right. We want to watch out for that. We want to watch where this Booyah goes. Okay, it goes there. I'm going to try and shark this player. Nah, Hydra had an angle on me. Absolutely not. Nice, and we got the Booyah Bomber as well. Let's get in here and try and apply some pressure. Got one. Got two. And now let's get out of here. Okay, the clams should be right there. Teammates should be able to pick them up and score. We'll get him eventually. No, we won't. I'm trying to move up this left-hand side because this is an angle that's a little bit trickier for them to deal with if I've got a wall. If I don't have the wall, that I find that to be a little bit more dangerous to try and go to. but because I have it, it gives me the unique ability to cover it. And so you get a little bit more coverage on the team. I'm going to use it that way. Here, there's enough paint that the Kraken knows that they can't just chase me because they're going to get caught from it. They do end up getting caught because they've overcommitted to it. Now we can walk forward. Nice. Oh, Kraken. That's a mistake that everyone's going to make once. Probably more than once, let's be real. Cool. I have another splash wall, though. I don't have another life, and that was a really poor decision to push that. I like that Booyah Bomb. Keeps the game alive. Possibly long enough. Yeah, the overtime timed out before the clam got in the basket. Unfortunate for them. That was actually pretty close. Really strong option right there, you know. A lot of mistakes of unfamiliarity that you're seeing that I'm making. But I'm happy with putting that one out there. I think that that showcases enough about why the weapon is strong and some ideas for how it might be used. I think my neutral game definitely needs some work there. There's a lot of positioning that I am doing improperly because I'm trying to play it like it's a 52 gal, or even playing 52 gal incorrectly in some of these positions. And my aim is not phenomenal with it. I'm used to having a higher fire rate, and so I can afford to miss a few shots. Something that's really important with the 96 is that since your aim is going to get worse the longer you hold down the trigger, you really want to be stopping after 2 or 3 shots and moving to make sure that you reset your aim and it's right back on the reticle again by the time you start pulling the trigger again. And that's something that I'm doing a poor job of here. But hopefully that gives you enough of an idea. Moving on, we're gonna play my weapon's little brother. This is very much a T-Tech. Like, it is a short-range shooter with a lethal bomb and tri-strike. And it's gonna have a little bit less range. It's gonna paint a little bit better. It's going to have better accuracy, better move speed, and a different bomb. Typically a worse bomb. Suction bombs don't have quite the same object damage buff that they had in Splatoon 2. And so in this game, they're just generally considered to be a little bit worse than splat bombs. Not by much, though. The extra fuse time does mean they control more space. They do have a bigger explosion radius, and they stick to things, which can be useful, and especially modes like tower control. Or even just when you have a bunch of walls and blind corners and stuff, and you can set something up by putting it around the corner where it's harder for them to see, but it will still hit them when it explodes. So there are definitely some nuances of difference between them, but ultimately you're using this and the T-Tech for exactly the same reasons, to have a Slayer support hybrid that can put out a lot of tri-strikes. This will put out slightly more tri-strikes and be a little bit worse on the combat side, what with the bomb that's a little bit less useful for direct combat, the slightly worse range, and the slightly lower kill time. Although a lot is made up for by having the better accuracy and the better move speed, both of which, you know, the stronger a player gets, the more that gap narrows. So whether you would use one or the other, I would say is on a case-by-case basis. I would experiment to see which of them matches your playstyle the best, or which map mode it fits the best. Because I think that this weapon is absolutely going to be just about as viable as the T-Tech, because it's going to be used for all the same things that the T-Tech's going to be, just slightly different flavors of it. So that's Spore. Oh man, that might be Spore. Oh boy. This is going to be a tough team to fight. Couple of very high-level players. at least Div 1, I think Div X from both Samage and Spore. Spore, one of the best Ink Rush players in the Western scene. There's someone on our plat. I'm being targeted by Z+F here. I've at least probably bought enough time. Ooh, we get him. Got him. Hopefully, the team is able to do something with this. It at least bought us the amount of time that we needed to not promptly lose control of the basket. Game back to you, buddy. Gonna back up because the Autobomb revealed our position. We get that trade at least. Oh, nice! We got someone with the bomb, I guess. So we're holding them off pretty well. Now, we need to not die dropping down in the mid to be able to actually survive out there and get something done. And oh, that was a reflux going in like that. Wild. Frontline refluxing. Is, not what that weapon's known for, that's for sure. You know what I just did? I went back there thinking, like, when the Kraken untransforms, it's gonna end up back in the position where it launched it. That is not how that special works. It's my, my Zipcaster, my Inkjet reflex. Ooh, somebody got up there and I did not notice. That is definitely my fault. See if we can head over here and maybe bomb that out. They're going to try and put jumps on top of this. Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay, they're not going for the jump. Hi, hello there. So here's the thing. Kraken doesn't last that long. Probably going to get attacked from back here, I think. No, no, they're just going to keep going forward. Go and get him? Okay, we got him. That's a charger. Try and stay away from that as much as we can. Good. I'm gonna need some help here, folks. Nobody knows. And in fact, somebody else got picked. That was a situation where my T-Tech would have hit and my Splash didn't. So that's one of those places where you really like the T-Tech in particular. I should die, but maybe it won't. You're gonna just jump that in there, which I can't really do anything about at this moment in time. I can maybe get in behind this guy. Chargers dangerous where they are. With that splash wall out, it's very difficult to contest them. Good aim. That was really quick. Really need to work on getting the base cleared out here. Yeah, with them taking our high ground positions here, this game should be pretty much over. It's just a question of whether they have the resources to go out and get the last clam, and they finally did. So, I was expecting that one to be a challenge. Definitely had trouble keeping the team alive there. But I'm pretty happy with, you know, how much of a fight we were able to put up, given the caliber of the players, even if they're not on their main weapons. This is a period of time where people are going to be experimenting a lot. You know, new weapons just came out. People are still figuring out how to use them. It hasn't been seen a ton in top-level tournaments. So the top players, you know, when you run into them in solo, you know, especially open like this, you're highly likely to run into players who are testing things. So this is definitely a comp. This might even be something that they're planning on playing, you know, at a pickup event or something, because looking at it, it looks fairly well formed. And these are all players who, you know, you'd probably see in, I think, +1. So maybe that's the kind of thing that's going on right now. Maybe they're warming up for a tournament or something. Spore, you know, known for playing that ink brush, and so I was looking for that. And is on the 96 instead. Even so, they beat us pretty soundly. So, from there, let's drop down to the bucket. This is a very nifty bucket. I like this bucket. So this bucket is equipped with a fizzy bomb, a soda bomb, which gives it a lot of interesting possibilities. I want to walk through damage combos really quickly. So first of all, if you hit a direct, uncharged, that combos with the slosh. Now it has to be a direct. That's a relatively precise hit to do, because that's 35, and that's what you're going to get most of the time, and that's only going to give you 97. So this needs to be placed well, but if it is, that works really, really cleanly, and that's the fastest kill time I think that you're going to get. That might even be faster than just sloshing twice. And the thing is, you can hit this from further away than you can hit a slosh. Like, you can roll that from probably about back here, which is well out of range to ever hit anyone with a Tri-Slosher. And so as you're approaching someone, you can hit with that and then combo that way, and that's really cool. If you give it a shake, and you hit with both explosions, that's obviously going to combo as well. And any amount of this, you know, that hits, definitely going to combo as well. Another great thing about the Fizzy Bomb is that it's a mobility sub. I can basically get... It's almost like an Explo shot. It's not quite as long range, but that much paint out in front of me off of just throwing this thing uncharged. And it's a really swimmable line that is great for moving into enemy territory. So if you are like way out in some little patch of ink and you're trying to reconnect to your teammates, or you're trying to connect to a bunch of your ink that's down behind the enemy team or something like that, that's all it takes. And now you're here. Basically the same utility as a curling bomb, except much, much more useful for combat than a curling bomb generally is. So this is a really beautiful combination with the weapon. Now, Tacticooler isn't the strongest special. Nobody's going to be telling you that we're in the Tacticooler meta. That, you know, has not been a thought since basically the game's release. But what the Tacticooler does do helps Tri-Slosher an awful lot. Now, unfortunately, it gives up your stealth, which is one really big downside. But everything else about it is awesome. You get extra move speed. You get to save your special. If you go down, you can super jump really quickly. And if you go down, then you save all of the special charge you had, which admittedly isn't helpful for the cooler user themselves. But if you run a double cooler comp, which is something that has been proposed, though something I haven't seen, then, you know, you would keep it then. But you respawn really quickly, and you're able to jump back in. And since Tri-Sloshers are going to be running a lot of quick respawn anyway, that super fits their playstyle. Not to say that, you know, that quick respawn they're running is what's going to be the big benefit in that situation, but that's already their playstyle. That's already something they're going to be playing for, so it fits in super well. It's not like they have to play outside of what their weapon already wants to do. So this is a great kind of hold-forward weapon. If you want, you know, a weapon for Rainmaker that's going to get you Tacticoolers, but is also going to be able to hold its own better than a Zap will, this is definitely an option for that. It's not, you know, a support weapon in the sense that it's going to be getting so much paint that you're going to have coolers constantly. But the Fizzy Bombs are going to help it a lot more. You know, you can make a weapon a lot more of a support weapon when you give it Fizzy Bomb, because the Fizzy Bomb can paint where the main weapon can't paint. That is just a huge chunk of special charge. I bet I get special off of this one fizzy right here. There it is. So, you know, that amount of paint combined with your main weapon is a lot of burst paint for you to put out there, and so it's going to be great for charging special faster than the Tri-Slosher normally can. Alright, let's get going. Again, using those fizzy bombs basically like they're curling bombs to get out onto the map a little quicker. We'll try and set up on this side here. Might want to sneak around a little bit. With any kind of weapon like the Tri-Slosher, any kind of sharking weapon, and we'll talk about this also probably with the roller, you want to put yourself in a whole bunch of different positions so that the enemy team never has you figured out where you are for too long. We don't really have the clams to even push in on that, so there's no point in going after this. Oh, but this player doesn't know. Yeah, they're down. And this player should probably trade. Oh, no, they don't even trade. Pop this right now and then just kind of go in. Because we have numbers advantage right now that we've just earned. That's not a huge deal, even though that was not super well played, because I can just get back in here and be a part of the push again. Unfortunately, they have a Kraken. So we're going to just go in and try and keep the rest of their team engaged. Because our team is going to chase after that. We're going to stop their Kraken. We're going to stop this player. And that probably provides us with a little bit more utility, especially since that player didn't realize I was there either. This player goes down. Should go down. Maybe I ran out of ink before the second slosh came out. I didn't realize. Saved my teammate there. Unfortunately, this player's still here. And I'm not able to stop that. I can splat them, but it would have been better if I could do that without them being able to get in. Works out okay. Why is nobody stopping this? That player ran right past us. Like, I'm watching the right side. There's nothing else to watch except for the other choke. I don't know what was going on there. Unfortunate that I wasn't able to get that. Ooh, hello. There, I didn't try to throw the second slosh. That's, you know, hit confirming. That's making sure that I'm going to stay safe before I get the second one. I'm going to throw this here just in case we go down. I was going to try for the jump, but ended up going down before that worked out. They're still here. Oh. Well, that's unfortunate timing. I'm not a huge fan of the jump play there. I don't think we really need to be doing that in this situation. Like, we're capable of taking fights against them. And if you just take the fights, you're more likely to be able to beat them. Although, we're doing a very poor job of just defending the front door. Just like the single most obvious place for them to come in is not being guarded very often. Okay. I was seeing if I could get them to overshoot, because they were going to catch me with whatever angle I tried to run away at that point, being that close to me. Oh, that was a mistake. I didn't want this. Oh, hello. They're just going to try and get jumps into this, I would assume. I'm surprised they're not trying to do that. Typically, you know, if a Kraken's going to rush the clam basket like that, it's probably because they're expecting jumps, especially in a solo queue environment where I've seen a lot of teammates try to make that play. Kraken is something you can super jump to, so if you just get a Kraken in their base, put a power clam on it, the jumper, they're going to get there, they're going to score it. Now, those plays are still not super great unless you have, like, a lot of power clams going in, or it's going to, like, win you the game right away. Because then everybody at the basket just immediately dies because you've only got so many players who can jump in, and the jump is a vulnerable play to be making. So usually that scores a lot less than the play that you make where you just take control of the map and lock the enemy team out of their own basket. That's where you get those big 0 to 100 KOs. But very fun weapon. Very dependent on your ability to be able to stay stealthed, to not let the opponents know where you are. Because the range on the Tri-Slosher is still somewhat limited. And since you're not providing that super valuable special, it's something where you need to be getting picks from it. You need to be getting splats. You're not going to get a lot of paint. You're not getting a lot of special support. So the main weapon needs to be doing some work for you, or the main weapon sub-combo there. Next up, we got the N-Zap. I've been playing a lot of this recently. And so I have a lot of thoughts about this. This kit is meant sort of to mimic the N-Zap 89 of Splatoon 2, except instead of missiles, it has Super Chump, and Super Chump is very different for reasons that I've talked about in a video already, and maybe if I remember to put the video card in, I will link to that as well. But Super Chump is all about being able to enable quick pushes. If you leave the super chumps out there for too long, the enemy is just going to shred all of the important ones, and you're not going to get any value out of them. The chumps need to be landing as soon as the team is fighting, so that there's something in the opponent's way, even for the short amount of time it takes for the opponent to fire 2 shots and clear the chump that's in between them and the opponent. Because those 2 shots that they have to put into the dummy actually do matter. They can help you win fights, they can obscure vision of where you are in that moment so that the opponent loses track of you. And they do put down some paint if they're left unattended to, so they can at least distract the opponent for a second or two and maybe give you an opportunity or your teammate an opportunity to get in. This is definitely the preferred Super Chump weapon. The other one is on a Clash Blaster, which we'll be talking about later, but there are very good reasons not to pick that Clash Blaster. This one is definitely where you want to be. You've got a lethal bomb, albeit not a perfect one, and the auto bomb, one that, you can, throw in there at some awkward angles and occasionally get a pick or two here and there, but most of the time, what you really want to use that for is scouting. You are a great painting weapon, and so you're going to be able to defensively paint for your team. You're going to be able to scout out for enemy flankers and things like that. Sort of similar to how the Splash-o-matic Nouveau works, but better in every aspect at the Nova's job. The auto bomb is an actual threat to the opponent, so it can even force them to move or flush them out of positions when you find them. But on top of that, it still does give you the information about where an opponent is, because as soon as you throw a bomb out there, it's going to lock onto them and let you know, oh wait, there's someone over there, That auto bomb just told me, oh, there's someone right there, and I turn my camera and I see them. So you get the same functionality that you would get with the point sensor, but it's with a better painting weapon and one that has a much, much better kill time, one that is actually capable of defending itself. And the special it gets isn't quite as valuable as a killer whale, but I think that more than makes up for it in that sort of niche. And on top of, having that scouting capability, it's also just able to go in and splat people. Like, this only has a couple of frames slower kill time than the splatter shot if you're getting your shots on. And it has better range than a splash. Fast movements, this is a weapon that's just like the tiniest step down from being a strong slaying weapon. And when combined with its paint output and its ability to follow up on its own specials, that makes it pretty valuable. And so if you're a support player looking for something a little bit more on the aggressive side, definitely something to at least consider. I'm not sure if it's going to be seen too much at top level. We have seen a Japanese team win a zones tournament with double N-Zap 89, but that was very early on launch. There may have been some teams that weren't quite sure how to counterplay it, how it was working until, after the fact when they got to VOD review it. So we'll see if it actually has legs in the long term, but it's definitely one of the more viable weapons that was released with Fresh Season, and I'm excited to play with it some more and see what I can do with it. It's BMO 25. It's Kiwi 25. The 25 crew. Let's try and flush those out. Okay, cool. Ran right into my teammates there. Looks like there was another one there, but I'm able to catch that. Let's put some chumps in and let's get in there. We're gonna try painting up on our way in. And we had some cover. I didn't get hit by as many shots as I would have there because chumps were blocking them. Just want to make sure nobody's trying to go after that. Cool, we're able to land the auto bombs there and annoy the charger. Unfortunately, we annoyed them insufficiently to stop them from splatting our teammates, so. Go in front of it. I wanted to go in front of it. Would have been fun. Well, this is dangerous. And I messed up my movement, so I neither got over the block, nor did I squid roll off after I messed up getting over the block. Probably could have just super jumped out at that point, but I wanted to distract a little bit more than that would have let me do. There is someone down here. Okay, they're going to jump out. They're recognizing that this push doesn't have any more legs, and they're backing off from it. 3 times. There we go. Alright, let's jump in here. Very weak charger. Nice, we were able to get them eventually. Oh, the chump got them, I think. I think I actually splatted someone with a super chump. That's like the 3rd time that has ever happened to me. You're not going to get a lot of picks with the chump. And I mentioned that in my other video, but that's not what it's for. And if that's what you're aiming for, you're not going to have a lot of success. Oop. You might get splats because of the cover that you gained from the chump, because it kept you alive long enough to hit your shots. The chumps themselves are not going to be doing a lot of damage, even if they do hit. One of the nice things about auto bombs is how ink efficient they are. So even though each individual one probably isn't as valuable, you do get a lot of them. You can kind of pepper them in there. I hope nobody saw that. We're probably going to go down if we stay in that. I want to make sure that there's no one sneaking up on the left. Okay, nobody yet. Cool, we were able to get the tetras. Or not tetras, those are dapples. I just assumed because it's dualies with Reef Slider. Throw that out there. That was a little bit of visual noise. Oh, this was not intended. Alright, we just gotta stop them from rolling all the way to the basket. Cool. There are some levels where you don't expect them to actually be able to get those shots, but there they got them. Okay, we're 2 down, so we gotta be really careful here. Don't want to overcommit. Gotta make sure that we're covering both sides. Easy peasy. Dapples are running in a little bit early, which is kind of what you expect from Tetras. Maybe not so much from those weapons instead. Didn't use cover adequately there. Okay, we want to watch out just in case someone tries to jump to this. That's what they did. I didn't trust the auto bomb not to lock on to the player when they were landing. So, turns out we actually opened the basket ourselves. 2 more clams and we would get lead. I don't think we're going to be able to get it, but wanted to give us a chance just in case. We actually do have advantage still. And I can jump into that. Is that going to be close enough, though? No, it's not. So we want to get behind cover, and now we're going to be good. I misspoke a little bit. Close enough wasn't really as much what I was worried about as the basket's not going to be open. Ooh, thank you, Clam Spawn. I don't think I can keep this open. Oh, okay, yeah. I'm just gonna wait until time is over and then throw one more. Ah, they got me. I shouldn't have popped up over the wall. That was a little bit greedy of me, but we got it done. All right, pop off, Nautilus. All right. We've reached the point at which I look at these weapons and say these are especially viable. These are weapons that, like, I would certainly consider in a competitive context. And we're starting to enter territory of, like, I just don't see it, man.